And good morning, everybody. I'm Roy Masters, a little bit tired. Got up 3 o'clock in the morning after 6 months not being able to express in writing the beginning of the universe, but I got up with a good idea, and 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock I was working. So I'm a little bit tired right now, but not tired enough to share my understanding with you. And I started to talk to the audience, which is kind of small today because most people have forgot to wake up. I was up at 3 o'clock, and here I am. And I was telling my audience that it's taken me 6 months to write one paragraph of the beginning of the universe. And I won't say any more because I already said it to them. But the understanding of the universe is a very important thing for science, and a metaphysical blessing to me to be able to know what that is. My forte and my gift is understanding humanity, whereby humanity does not understand itself. It keeps repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Every 30, 40 years we have another war, because we bring up generations that haven't learned what it means to be a human being, and doesn't understand that life is not selfishness, it's unselfishness and the service of a creator. So you're a conduit for the purpose for which he created you, and that purpose is eternal life. And so you say, well, how can death be eternal life? Well, animals don't have that option. They don't have an option to know right from wrong. They can't veer from whatever they are into what's wrong, because into what's wrong is into the belly of the pursuer. See, so you have within you a set of and equivalent to the Constitution of the United States. Or less intelligent is the 10 Commandments, because nobody can keep them anyway. There's only 10 of them, but nobody really understands what it means to honor your mother or father if they're sons of bitches. Excuse the expression. And so the purpose of your life is to live the perfect life. And you don't want to listen to anyone or any preacher that says that you cannot have a perfect life. Jesus himself said, "Be you therefore perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." And over again, when I had the displeasure of speaking to preachers who should know better, they say otherwise. And I point to that, because they always say you can't be perfect. Only Jesus is perfect. That's not true. He came here to transcend our imperfection as his perfection. And so you need to become perfect, even though you're not. The becoming process is exactly what I said. It's becoming, but you have to start becoming. Isn't that right? And you have to learn to maintain the becoming. And you'll always be coming till you become dead, physically. But after that, there's life, because you're developing a spirit within the body framework. And that is what steps out. Do you remember coming down your mother's fallopian tubes? I don't know if you ever got the words right. Do you remember your journey here? Do you remember being a little tiny speck of nothing, who knew how to take all the nutrients from everything, the chemistry from the ground, the chemistry from the air? Where did you come from? Where are you going? Do you think your dog can ask that question? No, a dog is a dog, a cat is a cat. you don't want to put a dog on a pedestal and have a codependency and get the love of a dog as a displacement from the love you never had from God, or you fell away from. So then we, of course, have to define the word love, but I'll come to that. I just want you to know that Jesus gave everything. We're coming to what's the Easter. I was born 2-3 days before that. In other words, in this, every now and then it comes around to, I was born the 2nd of April. Jesus rose on the 5th of April, according to this week. See, it is kind of a sweet thing, and I like to think of that with that sentiment. And I didn't know anything about religion. I rejected my own religion, not rejected it. I'm Jewish, but as I understood it years later, that salvation is from the Jews, and it looks like the president of Israel, Israel's president, Netanyahu. I always get it wrong, so just let me say it wrong because I can't get it right. I can't say it right for some reason. He's the prime minister. He's the prime minister of Israel, and it looks like that little nation is going to have to do what we have to do. And that's like David and Goliath. And they've suffered enough. They've got their country back, which is a miracle. I mean, it's actually an astounding prediction from several thousand years ago. And but all this is a journey of suffering, murder, killing, dying. And Jesus was on the cross to show that dying has a value. And if you read the story very carefully, the stone was rolled away, and he was normal. And he showed that he had some scars still that had to be healed, but 3 days he was dead as a doornail. But he's making a point, and he has to make that point, in that there is resurrection. In other words, the mystical state that was the resurrection for him was that he could disappear. He could actually disappear and appear in some other place. He was will-o'-the-wisp, in a manner of speaking, forever. You could travel the universe that way. Scientists were trying to, what was that movie with Dr. Spock in it? Star Trek.
Beam me up,
Yeah,
Scotty.
beam me up. What was it? Beam me up,
Scotty.
Scotty. Yeah. See, so we can think in terms of that. I say that is imminently possible, and something more imminently, apparently impossible beyond that. Life is forever, but this life is temporary, to test to whom you belong. God cannot, will not, cannot, and he literally, that's something he can't do. He can't make you love him. That's what the devil does. That's the choice that Adam had. And he only gave that choice to one person. One person. Eve wasn't involved. So whatever evil is, it stood behind her, invisible. It has an invisible form. It exists. And it exists in this room. Evil exists in this room somewhere. And it can hear me. And I know it's there. And that's why I can do exorcisms. But when I'm saying that Jesus, God, gave one man Because if you made another man as naive as he would be and should be, all he had was one command: of all the trees you can freely eat, but not this one. In the very end of the story, with all the suffering that's going on, all of the wars and all of the corruption, all the sins of that proceeded from Adam's first choice made wrong, and the excuse to justify it, which came from the fall. So one man multiplied into the whole human race, and with it, regardless of the culture, so that if you're a Muslim or Jew or Christian or a cannibal, you'll have your culture, which is your programming. And your culture and your programming is earthy. The culture you need is the kingdom of heaven. If Adam would have yielded, which he wouldn't, if you made 1 billion Adams, he'd make the same mistake, because he cannot help but be tempted. He was given the choice to love God or play God. The knowledge of good is as dangerous as the knowledge of evil. So you really don't want to be too intellectual. See, you don't need words to be intellectual. It means if there was no books, you could be an intellectual, because then you could study and learn and memorize and develop by observation, as scientists do, as people do, as children do. But it can become an intellectual feat, see, especially since you have written language. And unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I can't tell the difference. And so you'll come to that conclusion in a minute. I think I'll walk you towards it, because you can't say it in, what it really is until you can see the point. You could no more help being a broken human being, a lost human being, any more than Adam could help being seduced, because God knew he could be. And he knew it would be, but it still had to be a choice. Even if it was a lousy choice, because he was like a kid, an infant, and didn't have the full strength of intuition, as this old geezer sitting here has. See, I can see through nearly everything. I can predict it 50 years ahead, as you know I have over the years. I've been on the air for 55 years, and all the things that happen exactly. So predictions are easy to do if you have intuition. If you see the rain coming, he makes a point. Well, if you see the weather in the distance, why can't you see the signs of the times? See, same thing. Either one is earthy and one is spiritual. What you need to aim for is the spiritual. And so, what makes you look for the spiritual is suffering. And so you're born into suffering. But that suffering has a different boss, a different will. It's the will that it's the spirit. In other words, if you think of yourself if you think that you have a will, it's not true, it has you. At least I know I have a will, but it owns me. If you ask the average person, do you have a will? They say, of course I do. Because they will everything. But it isn't them that's doing the willing. It's not. They're just being acted through. So there's hell on earth. So now, but the point is, I'll just change the subject for a minute, because I mentioned the knowledge of good and evil, and I want to stop for a minute and talk a little politics, because it showed up in politics just a little while ago. because I mentioned the Israeli Prime Minister, Netanyahu. Did I get it right?
Yahoo! Close.
Is it Yahoo? Oh, Yahoo yourself. But I'd never get it right, so forgive me.
His name's Bibi.
Okay, Bibi. It's one of my flaws. Not such a serious one. But this is a fascinating, when I'm speaking of the knowledge of good and evil and the written word, and as opposed to the deep meaning of the spoken word spoken through a person, but not from a person, and the good coming through a person, but not from your gut, if you know what I'm saying. I try to make it short so you get the point. Something speaks through me. It feels like it's me talking. I know better, because I don't prepare my programs. I won't prepare it because it means it's me trying to impress you, how smart I am. So now I bumble, as you see, and tumble, and don't get things right sometimes. That's perfectly normal. I'm not as fluent as I should be. I was more fluent. I'm getting old. I'm all right with that too. But I think what I say has more relevance as I get older, and as I'm able to express words so that they impact you less and enlighten you more. And with regards to words and the intellect, that you speak from the intellect and not from the soul, I want to say this about the political situation I noticed when, is it Bibi? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, let's call him Bibi.
Sure.
Bibi, baby. Hi, Bibi. You did a good job. You have no idea what a good job you did. I want you to see the two different worlds. Here's a man who's totally confident in himself, God-centered. See? And he was educated he's an American. He fought in 2 wars, etc., was wounded. He's a man. And he loves freedom. And Israel is a little tiny country. It's not as big as, New York City. Probably much, but only 7 million people, including the Palestinians. That is not a very big country. It has a 30,000-man army, and I suspect is unbeatable. They're all Jewish, no wonder. They do everything right. See? So he has the courage. He sees the President of the United States for what he is. And he loves the United States. He also loves his own country. So he dares to do the unthinkable. It means the unthinkable is Obama's not going to help him for the Iron Dome or anything else like that. He's not going to do it anyway, so here he comes. And he's prepared a speech, but a beautiful one. In those situations, you do need to write that speech to get it right, because you only got a few minutes. And here I got an hour or two, so I don't have to jot anything down. It's a different thing. It's a momentous situation which you need to have but you could say it with a good heart. Now here's the interesting thing. 50 Democrats did not want to attend. Racists, anti-Semitic, bastards, okay, pardon the vernacular, okay, see, elected by stupid people, stupefied people, and the number of stupefied people is growing, because you can see that as you become demoralized, as the sin travels from parent to children, and children becoming parents to children. And so where there's no moral code, or where we are deprived of it in some way through media, schools, and so the enemy gets involved, and therefore we become demoralized. The children don't have fathers anymore, then they have gang leaders as fathers, etc., etc. We become demoralized nation. And as a result, we no longer become Americans. Even the best of us aren't really Americans. Even the best of us on the surface, we understand the Constitution, we have the right to bear arms and all the rest of it, and we're getting angry, but we look the other way. For a little while we don't want to fight. But when it comes to Christians and Jews, which this is a Judeo-Christian nation, and I am grateful to be able to immigrate here and savor the advantages of our founding fathers who died for me to be able to speak freely. Where I couldn't speak freely in England, I had to go out on a ship in the Channel to radiate my word, over the years, and then they blew up the ship. See, they got the Dutch to blow it up, the British did. So there was no free speech in England, not even for Churchill. That's why there was a war, where there wouldn't have been. I'm getting away from my subject, so I'm sorry to say. I'm coming back to the spoken word now. And so Obama speaks with spoken words, but he's being prompted. He is a person of language. He's an intellectual, soulless, literally a soulless intellectual. He's all knowledge and no common sense. The knowledge he has is anti-American. The knowledge he has is Marxist. It's clear. But the average person who's politically correct will not speak up and call him that. I do. I call him that, Marxist. And because we are afraid of being called racist because he's black, carefully chosen. So you can't. It's a wonderful thing to have a black president. I would like another one, but a good one. Because not all white is good and not all black is bad, right? See? So Ben Carson I'd like. He kept memory. I can't normally remember the names of people. I forget my own name sometimes. But you see, there's a decent man. But but the reason why we got him, not just once, but twice, the worst in us rises to elect the worst, to comfort us. The drug pusher rises to the pushover. So that to the degree that we are broken, and we have been broken by propaganda and media bought by Russia, and schools infected by infected individuals who think they're American because they're born American, but they have a Marxist programming in their schools, and they become teachers. So the programmed kids grow up to be teachers and multiply. See, and given good positions to destroy other children and infect the media. That takes about 60, 70 years. The communists think 60, 70 years ahead. But you see our country is falling apart. Now I'm coming to a point, philosophically, and what the power of a spoken word. The reason 50 didn't come, they didn't want to hear what was said. They knew it was coming. It was like Jesus, when Bibi came, it was like Jesus speaking, because he was heartfelt. He was defiantly correct. If you don't do something, Mr. President, I'm going to do it all by myself. And there's only 7 million of us, including Palestinians, loyal Palestinians. That is a remarkable thing. 6 million people take on the whole world, on Iran. He'll do it. And that's what he said, because you're messing with this thing. And he didn't say it directly to him, but he knew that the president is a traitor to America. You don't like that and don't want to give me any donations? Go to hell. A curse on you if you be afraid to associate with me because I said that. You're a freaking coward if you tend to not want to have association with me and keep me on the air, because I'm one of the few that will dare to do it, and he comes from another country and does exactly what I've been saying all along. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's the psychology. Obama is afraid of Netanyahu. Did I get it right? Yahoo! I got to show you my flaw. I can't get it right. Just like you can't get your life right, I can't get that name right. Which is better? I got a better deal. Right? But anyway, I'm sure he'll laugh if he ever hears what I have to say about him. But the interesting thing was that not only was this anti-Semitic, it was fear. They didn't want to hear what he had to say. It would have been thunderously effective. People like those 50 hate innocence, hate the truth that sets you free. They are agents of change otherwise, downward. They want to slave you because the world has never known much freedom over the years, because somehow, as I explained just a little bit, we rise, our civilization rise, we become corrupted, we become noble and work hard, and we fight and die for what's right, and then our children grow up and all falls apart. They become liberal, they want peace, they want sex, they become selfish kids because they never had to suffer, but sooner or later they have to suffer and die for their country, or just die, become slaves for the triumphant enemy. And so the Jewish people have suffered tremendously. If you add up all the number of people that were Jewish people that were murdered, it's 1 in 2 in the last 2,000 years. See, 1 in 2 died, was murdered. That's a frightening figure, but they survived. How they survived is just the simple instructions of the commandments and sort of huddling together and doing the best they can, going from generation to generation and becoming smarter and wiser, but helpless. They didn't have a country of their own, but there's something about those people that are bright, and certain things about the rest of the world is hateful. And they weren't born hateful, they inherited hatefulness. The 10 Commandments was a very close proximity to what could be the truth, the absolute truth, meaning non-written truth, intuitive truth. See, which was to come in the day of Jesus, who spoke like, or I should say Netanyahu, got it right that time, spoke truthfully at the Congress, for the Congressional Assembly. But here is the thing, he is so degenerate. The President of the United States and those supporters, the Democrats, elected by stupid people or stupefied people, because they have created enough stupefied people to elect a communist, a Marxist, who wants your downfall and wants to enslave you. There are certain people, if you look around the world, that want to slave you. Look at ISIS. If you don't believe there's such a thing as evil, perfect evil, just look at that. There is evil, and there's also bits of evil in you. We're coming back to that again. So President Obama didn't want to hear the speech, but he read the script. Because he, what do you call those? He uses a prompter to speak. He is programmed by the spoken word, which is antithetical. Programmed by the spoken word is bad enough when you get programmed by your impatient father, right? Etc., etc., which is continued by impatient teachers, and nurtured and enabled by the wrong kinds of friends. Because you couldn't have a right kind of a friend in your broken state. You need someone to justify you, to see you in a good light, that you don't want to see yourself in a bad light. And so that's you choose your friends to make you feel better than you really deserve, and that is what increases the potential of sinning and dying as a piece of meat with a dark interior called a spirit. You see the point. He was afraid to hear the truth. Afraid to hear it. And I have an audience over the last 55 years. And every now and then, and actually quite frequently, when I say that he doesn't want to hear it, he can't hear it, he doesn't want to allow himself to hear it because it's going to influence him. It's going to overtake him. If I could get next to the president, I would have him eating out of my fingers, just him and me by myself. He'd be eating from my hand like a dog. He was afraid of the Prime Minister. He didn't want to hear the truth. And I know, and my wife's here, had a long time coming to the understanding. I've been married 63 years, she still didn't learn a whole lot. And I love her. No. I love you, and you haven't got to first base yet. And so, it's all there is to it. But I have love, 63 years, and to have a good home, and to see to it that she, please God, one day, gets it. But I have an audience, huge. And just to stay on the same subject, when people call, very often, I will say, how long you been listening to me? Question, how long you been listening to? 30 years. You should have got it in 30 seconds. And so I question more. And I point out to him, well, they usually point out to me, to put it frankly. He says, they would say, I could not understand what you were saying for 30 years. And one morning I woke up and got it. That was 30 seconds. That's all it takes. The trouble is that 30 years is the unwillingness to face our own faults, but enjoying the truth anyway, which is a good sign. They just keep listening, but they don't understand what I'm saying. The Pharisees were accused by Jesus in that sense. So he says, you see, but you don't perceive. Whoops! There's another set of eyes, so to speak. They hear, but do not understand. So they can hear what you say, but they misconstrue what you say. They hate what you say. They don't remember what you say. What you say doesn't have any meanings. And people, you're not my friend. I want to hear lies. They don't say that, but they have lie love. It's an addiction. Because even inside their own self, they make an excuse for themselves, and the excuse is worse than the sin. To us, we don't sin. The only sin is to make the excuse, to look for others to excuse us, to enable us to continue in our falling state, which we think is rising. Because the whole idea is to make you feel right. But feeling right is only a feeling, it's an illusion. It's an emotional state. I feel good. Doesn't mean to say you are good. I feel 10 feet tall. You're not 10 feet tall. But if you feel 10 feet tall, you could be a midget and feel taller than anybody else, or superior to everybody else, even though you're small. They're just stupid, big, giant bastards. That's how he thinks. I'm superior to him. Women feel superior to men. Women think men, you know, they're smarter. They think that. No, they're not. Men are endowed with intuition superior to any woman. And any woman with any common sense knows that, but she can't find the one she can serve it. A woman is designed to serve a man as man is designed to serve God. It is a chain of command. And women have that dark side that comes through every mother to all the children because of failing fathers. Every man born of woman is a failing man. Like the first failing man is, because she's come from the woman. And when you come from the woman, you're subject to the woman. She feeds you. She gives you the first food, which is equivalent to the forbidden food, but it isn't forbidden because it's food. But it has a forbiddenness characteristic built into it. Just like when you eat food and you're unhappy, you eat food. You eat food to give you a sense of worth. Food carries the original sin. Food itself has built into it a curse. So that you want to say something, Alan?
Well, yeah, but I don't want to interrupt your train of thought.
No, but you're getting my point. And I'm coming back to Netanyahu.
Netanyahu. Think of Yahoo like, Yahoo.com.
I got it.
Netanyahu. But his name is
Why
Bibi.
can't he just
like
change
your
his name
name is
and make it
Reuben,
easier?
and they shortened it to Roy. Benjamin, they call him Bibi. That's his nickname.
Okay.
Anyway, you said something about woman is designed to serve man the way man is designed to serve God.
Yeah, it's just a divine order.
And I don't disagree with that.
But it has to be a good man.
Well, that's where you kind of
I
have
haven't
to make
finished
sure. I know, but you have to kind of keep that tight with the
yeah.
other one because
that is the divine order.
What happens is that the man sits there, and when you say that, most men go, and then all of a sudden, you're not saying anything anymore because their mind is going, that's right.
Yeah, I was going to.
She's going to listen to me no matter what.
I get that.
And if the man is not a humble servant of God, then she's serving the wrong thing in him.
Yeah, I agree.
So it really boils down.
You don't get any argument. You said, remember, I said women give birth to imperfect men. That's the problem, and they go back to mama for reassurance because the father is no good. He's too weak. He's too much of a bully. Therefore, the loyalty reverts to the mother.
Right. It's the way I look at it is if there's a good sergeant, and the lieutenant, I think, is below the sergeant. If there's a good sergeant, they want to serve him with everything they have. They'll give their life for their sergeant.
Well,
but if he's a wicked sergeant, then everything changes. Or if he's an arrogant sergeant.
I had a wicked sergeant, and I changed him.
Well, and that can happen too. if the woman, because then the woman has to kind of go straight to God and find the strength to do the right
but
thing.
That is what I've said in many some talks that you may be privy to. If a woman does not have a man and can't find one because men are rare, such men as you speak about are rare. See, they never used to be in America.
I just didn't want to empower men to look at their women, look down their nose at them.
I agree.
Because that's a dangerous thing because you have a mass audience with this.
No, I know that.
And so all I wanted to do was make that clear because so many men, when they hear you say that, they think their woman is now beneath them and she cannot make a correction.
The woman is not beneath
of him.
A woman is beautiful. A beautiful child. If you think as a man, as a real man, and you see a man using women for his pleasure, and not because he loved them and wants to have a nice family, but only wants a sense of worth from the excitement he feels that she can provide. That makes her a slave or makes him a slave of that. It depends on which way you look at it. See, they're both slaves. And a woman needs to have the hell loved out of them, because that's what most women know. They have that. Something's wrong. I just need a man to say no to me, like Adam should have said no, put down the fruit. In those days, it's the same dynamic, exactly. And so, if a woman cannot find a man, now we're on a different subject, but he brought it up, and I kind of tickled him to do that. But if a woman cannot find a man that can say, put down the fruit, Eve, see, and what happens is, she either becomes more of a slave trying to get a man to be a man, but a woman can't make a man into a man. She can give birth to a male, but you can't make him a male man, or male man.
So she makes it with the mailman, that's what you say.
Yes, absolutely. Human.
Many people have told me, women, that you're a male chauvinist.
I know that.
And I look at them and I say, do I look
But you
like
haven't
that?
got a microphone.
I don't need one.
I'm
No,
going
yeah,
to sit
you
next
do.
to you and point it with
No, I'm done.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah, that's it. No more, no less.
Okay.
All right,
That's right.
you're done now? Okay.
Thank
So, we're done with the mailman. But you do understand, I'm glad Alan interceded, but I was coming to that anyway, but it makes a good point. But I can complete it. If a woman who seeks the kind of man she can't find. I remember 60 Minutes, 50 years ago. And all I remember is this. She was a famous actress or personality. And this is all I remember. But it's stuck in my mind as a principle. She says, I have a lot of money. I would give all that money if I could find a man that could say no to me. That's her angst. That is the woman's angst. She gives birth to children, a male child, and the father, and then he grows up to be a father, but his father had two ways of dealing with her, both wrong. Appease her for pleasure, or abuse her for pleasure, for the support of what's wrong with him. And so therefore, a woman can go through men or not get married, because a woman has the same ability to understand, has the same intuitive ability as a man does. She needs this, of course, to know that the man is right in the decisions he makes. And where he might vary, she has a snake's eye view, if pardon the expression. She is earthy and has an ear to the ground, more earthy than the man, but also spiritual. It's a good thing. So she could see sometimes where the man can't. And that's how it works. Women have that characteristic, but to emphasize the point, a woman needs to marry a man. A good woman will marry a man if he's available, because there aren't too many left, that she sees that he is clear and right about her service to him. I would be honored if I could serve President Reagan. I don't have to be the boss. It would be my honor to serve him. It is an honor to serve a noble man. But women can't help but test a man, and he fails. She loves in a way that nurtures him, and he encourages the service that nurtures the worst in Paradise Lost men, born from woman. The Bible speaks man born of woman. At the graveside has not long to live, and there's a certain poem or poetry that is said the way, and his life is full of misery and suffering, blah blah blah, and then they bury him. See, so we are really lost in the understanding of Adam and Eve. Everybody thinks that's just a fairy tale. But even though in the beginning you see that Adam and Eve had children, and they lived in a mountain, in an area of mountain area, and down the bottom was other people. So we knew that other people are there, but then these people were not the same, and so therefore sin comes. They have the choice, and then slowly but surely you can read in the Bible where the indigenous populations would sing songs and play music and say, come and join us, and they did.
Yeah.
And now you've got a mingling between the evil of the world and the good, mingled out, and it's like breeding a chicken. You have a white chicken and a black chicken, and you have a black and white chicken come out of eggs. And but there is a law which creates every now and then I can't find the word.
Throwback?
A throwback. Yeah, that's the idea. Throwback, which means all of a sudden you've got a white chicken and a black one.
Somebody survived.
And so you've got a black one which is evil, and the white one which is the good one.
Yeah.
Not that black is not using black to say black is evil, I'm just making the point with the chicken. See, so every now and then, but then the Bible reads like this: honor your mother and father. It doesn't say you have to like them, because you came down through their auspices, you know. So honor your mother and father, because if you hate the father you can see, you begin to hate the father you cannot see, and then you're lost again. Because the father is important. He is the next to God, even though he's bad. See, so what you have is a body, a man body. That's the office. Then you have the spirit of the man. That's the president. So if you hate the president, you could hate the office. You've got to be careful not to hate them both. See, because the office, in that office is a spirit, and that spirit is corrupted. And so if you have a bad father and a broken mother, it comes from a long line of broken mothers breaking their children to become broken mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
And that's where you become, where we find ourselves today in wars, appeasers and bullies.
Yeah, my situation, I always go back to myself in the sense of looking at this. My dad I saw one time that I remember. No face. I don't remember what he looked like. I don't remember a voice. So there was nothing there to hate, really, in a sense. I just felt it. I think I transferred it to God when I was growing up.
Yeah, if you hate your father, you hate God.
Yeah, in
I
a
get
sense,
it.
because he had
You hate your
yeah.
father, you separate from God.
Yeah.
And then you lose your way.
Yeah.
And then you start looking for women to fill the emptiness.
I kind of knew what would happen is I would probably.
And when you get fulfilled by a woman,
I
you're
would-
playing
it
footsies
would-
with the devil.
Yeah, it would be.
I'm sorry
I'd
to
end
put
up
it
like
that
my
way.
dad.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you get fulfilled by a woman, you're playing footsies with the devil. Not that she's a devil,
No.
but she has something in her that goes from generation to generation, and she needs to have the love the hell out of her, not embrace the hell in her.
Mm-hmm. You
See?
talked.
And that's what we do. We go back to, the woman is a powerful force for evil, but also a powerful force for good. It just needs a man.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean to say a woman can't be good on her own. But you don't see much in history about women. Except maybe Ruth. I think it was Ruth to save the Israelis. It's always the men. It's always the men. It's always the bull that decides, the genetics. And so it's the same, the genetics of spirit. And that's what we must find, the genetics of spirit, which is the same as which is more than equal than more than equal than the Constitution. The Constitution is for bad people. Yeah, to keep them chained up.
It's like the
So
old.
is the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, it's like the Old Testament compared to the New Testament.
Yes,
Very simple.
that's right. So the New Testament says, look, let me show you something. See, you need to find what I have. You need to see that I'm here as a deliverer. I'm just, my father is not your father. It's not your generation of fathers. My father is a heavenly one. I wasn't born from his seed. That the seed is violated, imperfect seed.
He came to free the men from trying to fix themselves. In other words,
Or
he
looking for
transferred,
women to fix.
yeah, or fix them. He
They had-
transferred
Yeah.
the to the spirit to where they had to find it within themselves. It had to come to
Well,
them. Instead of just
but
reading it.
his death on the cross is so importantly belling, because his disciples couldn't understand why he would put himself on a cross and die. That's because God wants everything, give everything back to him to love. Do you understand? You have to give yourself over to, so not that you're going to be put on a cross, but he's showing you that when you give all of yourself to what's right, there had to be some stage, some instant to make that point. Everybody with any sense knows that life has a purpose and the spiritual something or other which they know nothing about. And they do the best they can, and you get some as good as their fallen nature can permit. You got good. And that's as best as we can do, but it's got to be more. And there are people who do more. And when it comes the right time to do it, you have great... Do you remember the person who killed Obama? No, not Obama.
Is it Kennedy?
No, he killed Osama bin Laden.
Oh, the seal.
Yeah, did you watch his face as he expressed
I didn't. I
what
don't
he
think
did?
I saw that.
The cowardice, not the cowardice, but you saw the courage, the virtue, the necessity to help save our country, to strike at the heart of good people regardless if you die. And knowing that he would die and could die, it didn't bother him. That is a special kind of man. See?
Just like Chris Kyle, the sniper.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
So it's necessary because of our infidelity with the Creator and the generations that are sooner or later lead to decay and invite the enemy, the adversaries, the dark side of the force in people to encroach upon us. But it's our lack of virtue as a nation that's brought this upon us and caused us to elect a traitor president to nurture our faults, like the drug pusher rises to the pushover. So are you all pushovers. And you cannot say no to the pushover because you're addicted to it, because it's the only life you have. All it is a black mass inside. You understand? Hello. Yes. A gentleman wants to have yes.
I wanted to comment about you were talking about how it takes a long time for a lot of people.
Yes.
I was guilty of that. I
Yeah.
first heard you when I was...
Well, guilty is not as bad.
Okay.
Not guilty.
Well, I first heard you when I was 15, and I'm 53 now, and my whole life has changed. But it seemed like, I had to get the pride, worn out of me, and it really was all about pride.
Of course.
That was the bottom line. I wanted to look good. I did good to look like special.
Yes.
But when I finally, saw...
When you were rewarded by it, you got worse.
Yeah, and then when I saw that the excuse making was really being done from the entity, it was giving me excuses.
Exactly.
And when I saw that clearly and I didn't want it anymore, then everything changed.
Bingo.
Because, yeah.
Is that easy?
Just simple. And because the little things that are pointed out to us, it's no big deal. You know, it's really nothing.
But why is
I
it
mean,
a big deal?
because of pride. I
Pride.
didn't want to be wrong. But when that was all worn out, and finally, you know, I wanted to be in God's army. I want to be on the good side. I don't want, you know, when that changed.
But you want to be good enough for him to love you. And it's only his love that can save you to love him.
Right, right. And then and once I jumped ship to his ship, then that ego, that pride, that's vulnerable to the world, it's not an issue anymore.
There
It's
you
not.
are.
So people can do all kinds of things to me that used to traumatize me. Now it's kind of funny.
It just rolls over you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a miracle.
And it bothers them, they can't bother you.
Yeah, and those excuses, they were, I wanted to say one other thing about them, that they, oh yeah, when my errors would come up, I just simply see them and they're gone. Psh, I don't have to do it again. It's nothing.
You're right.
It's just, but
See?
that's all he ever wanted from me, is just to see it and let it go.
See it?
It's no big deal when you see.
You're right.
But it kind of amazed me how like it seemed like I didn't have to do anything except just see it and then let it go.
There's nothing for you to do.
No,
It
was
it shines on you.
that's it. And then I didn't have to make that same mistake again.
Oh. You never have to make the same mistake again, but then you see the next one you make, and then you don't have to make that one
Right.
again.
That's right.
And the next one, and pretty soon there aren't no mistakes.
That's right.
You're
And-
all pure.
and-
And you go on and have a life. But then
Yes.
things don't get better. Things don't necessarily get better for you because you start to shine. You're subject to attack. But you can handle 60-foot waves now where you couldn't stand on the board when you
Right.
first started.
That's caused more. It's demanded more of me, but it's what I really wanted deep inside. I just was too weak and cowardly to
I like
grasp it.
hearing that.
yeah.
You made my day. Really
Thanks.
do. See, I got another son come back to father.
Thank God.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you came.
Thank you.
Now
I'm glad you're
now
here.
you're my
too.
brother.
I sort of feel like you're my brother rather than my leader, like I used
I don't
to.
want to be a leader.
No, and maybe I needed that for years, just more like a father, like I had to be to continue listening to you because I just didn't really, get it. But now I feel like you're
But
my
you
brother.
understand,
like-
you understand all these years, you couldn't hear what I was saying. Do you see that? The scribes and Pharisees could never hear what they're saying.
yeah,
But then they were leaders, and they would screw the population up. That's why Israel failed. That's
Yeah.
why we're going to fail. We have elected the wrong kind of people to support was the wrong kind of people. To enable wrong kind of people need to be enabled.
right.
And that looks like love, but it's love from hell.
Yeah, it's a false kind of goodness. Like when I saw him running for presidency the first time, Obama, even though I was, pretty weak, I could see the guy he was like a con man.
Yeah.
He's
Not
not
like one,
He's
he is
not
one.
real. He's not. It's not authentic. It's a fake goodness.
Do you understand what happened on last week? It won't be last week when people hear this program, but BB.
Mhm.
BB, boo, 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 boo. But the point is, I have a strange sense of humor. I can make fun of little things.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is his brightness, his confidence, and he says, if you don't do it, we'll take it on ourselves. That's courage. See? And he became a de facto president. People love him now, and the Arabs love him too, the Arab Emirates and all those countries there. The very first day, while he was speaking, the headlines in Saudi Arabia was praise for Netanyahu.
Yahoo! Yahoo! Yahoo!
Everybody remember this for the rest of their lives. Roy Masters couldn't say Netanyahu. I still didn't do it, did I? Sure, I'm an obstinate person, aren't I? I'm as bad as you are for 10 minutes.
Yeah, when I was listening to his speech, it brought tears to my eyes.
It did.
Because he's so simple, he's so strong, and I love it.
And he didn't criticize the president,
No.
but he disagreed with the danger presented to America, which it is real, and he wants it to happen. And he had to come over and
Right.
and take the chance that no more money comes from America,
Yeah.
which Israel badly needs. See, so it was a very brave move politically,
Yep.
but I think that he'll be reelected, and all hell's going to break loose, because Israel has about 300 nuclear bombs, and they may not have the delivery system, but Iran isn't that far.
Yeah.
That's why it's.
They're not going to have a choice,
Yeah.
I think.
So, and they are going to strike first. They're not going to wait like we do, like England did with Chamberlain, right?
Yeah, good.
We keep putting it off and keep putting it off, and the enemy gets lost stronger and stronger and stronger, where you could have stamped on the first snake's head, right? And not many people would die. And so he's setting it up so many people die. He's one of them, don't you see that? And why doesn't the American people see it? They see it, but they're politically correct, which means they're not free to speak.
Right. Yep.
I will not be politically correct. I will take my medicine if it comes. So you don't want to mess with this 87-year-old guy, because I have a big network right behind me and lots of other people in other networks behind me. I was going to wear my fox jacket, but I didn't. Okay? We have influence in many parts of this country that nobody knows about.
We do now.
Yeah, we do. No, but the point is we don't know what that is. We don't know what that is. So I can actually speak, but you can too. You can speak to your next door neighbor and decide and speak philosophically, not politically. If you speak just truth, not politics, right and wrong. Politics hides behind, evil hides behind politics. Politics is war, you know, by different means. Nothing happens by mistake. Nothing happens by accident. Wars are planned by evil people. And the only way that evil people can be elected is to demoralize people and destroy their family and make them look for heroes. And they're always wrong. Always seek to rise to the occasion of the broken family's needs. See that? What you need is I shall say, what is it, I wish I could remember all the names of the prophets. I shall send somebody else, the prophet Isaiah. I think it was Isaiah. I will send in the last days
Elijah, yeah.
Elisha, and he shall bring the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the children's hearts to their fathers, lest I smite thee with a curse. That's what I'm trying to do here on this program, to get men to be men, women to appreciate men, and not to give themselves too easily to some jerk, or jerk off, whatever you want to call him, okay? Because no words could describe the despicability, if there's such a word, despicability, I just made a word up. No, but no words can describe a man who uses women for his own pleasure, even in marriage when the woman consents it too. She's not stupid. She actually senses that he's using her even though he thinks he's loving her. and he loves her as long as she allows her to be abused. And there's got to be a breaking point somewhere, doesn't it? Now, ISIS uses women, but makes it a law to enslave them. And that's why they're so wicked. Because the misuse of a woman, one way or the other, especially if you have a harem of them, and you own them, and you become less of a human being every time you abuse one, less of a man, more of a beast. More of a beast, and the more guilty he is, the more he will project the guilt on the woman. Even men now will blame the woman for what's wrong with them. But in that sense, they get so wicked, they will kill the woman just to take the pleasure as a whipping boy for him, for his guilt. That's how horrible it is to be. That is the kind of civilization of women that compelled to support the worst in men. Compelled. And then punished for it, for their guilt. Projected. And we look at all this and see people dying, and we don't want to fight. We do want to fight, but you've elected the wrong person. And now he has the power to keep you dumb. And he has the power over the military, he has the power over the Senate, he has the power over everything. And over the years, you elected the wrong kind of senators, you elected appeasers. Liberals elect appeasers, and appeasers and enable the worst in everybody. So, if you're an appeaser, you're a dead person. You want to know what an appeaser is? He is two parts of a whole. Rotten little bastard. See, in other words, you can't be a little rotten bastard by yourself. See, otherwise you're on a desert island. As a rotten swine, you need to live off not just food. Jesus says, something about man shall not live by food alone.
Bread alone, yeah.
Huh?
Bread.
Bread alone, yes.
Yeah.
But every word that comes out of the mouth of God, right? So that's another kind of food. So therefore, if you're on a desert island, you go crazy. Because your own mind will disturb you. You haven't got somebody to feed on. You haven't got an appeaser that will give life to you, give you a sense of worth. So you have a love-hate relationship, a codependency. The bully enjoys degrading the pushover who yields his services to him, and that is like food. But it's upside down. It's a food of an animal. It's a food of a salamander, a snake. See, it lives off people's submission, and that's what Hitler did. That's what Mussolini did. But Stalin did. And then what ICE is doing. There's people whose evil dwells in these people to the nth degree. And you've got to make a stand. And you have to do the same thing when you meet them now in America. You've got lots of people like that. When I was in America, when I first came here, 65 years ago, odd, and then some, there was a beautiful place. There wasn't evil everywhere. 2 people got murdered every year, and now 50,000 people die every year. You can see the difference. And you wouldn't be punished for having your 10-year-old kid come home with your 6-year-old kid from school by himself. You wouldn't mind letting your 7-year-old play in the park all day, because nobody would touch him, because it was rare that anybody would touch children. You could put a child on a bus and everyone would take care of a 5-year-old and make sure everybody will take him across London, and he get there where he's supposed to go. You can't do that today. A judge accused a woman of trusting her children to walk home from school 1 mile and gave her a 5-year sentence. But doesn't it tell you how much they know how dangerous it is in this country?
Yeah, 5 years sentence, that's crazy.
Okay. Oh, question. Did you have a question?
Well,
I'm
yes.
sorry. I had my head in that direction, and I should have been looking at a pretty girl.
That, this is kind of off subject. It's more like here in Mayberry, and it's
Who's Mayberry?
right here in Mayberry.
Oh.
And-
small town USA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's good about Mayberry?
Well, Mayberry has a,
live in Mayberry, wake up!
it's just a figure of speech of a
Oh,
you know,
all
an
right.
area,
I
location.
kind of, I just didn't quite understand.
Okay, it's
But I get
kind
the
of a
gist.
location.
Mayberry is a nice place.
Yes.
Okay, get it.
Well, it has to do with some associates that we have here very close to us. And I would like for you to speak on, if you will, or if you can today, because you're not on this subject,
Yeah.
about how we treat one another. Because I've
That's what I've been
seen-
talking about all day.
I know, but it's more close to home because these people don't get it. And they're treating other people like they're pets, like they're their pets.
But the pets deserve to be pets until they get to be vets.
But these
It's their
people-
fault. You
these-
can't. Each person
I
has to
understand
learn.
that
Each
flip.
person has to learn how to stand up to these things. You can't protect those people if they don't know how to. Listen, I have a system. The Jesus system. I know how to lead you to every person who is an appeaser back to strength, like this man here. I imagine you were a appeaser.
Yes.
See, because he still has the look of it. It's sort of like that. It says, "Come and get me. I won't hurt you." You know, and so, but he had to suffer, and in his suffering, he cried. I don't want to live this life. Something like that, right?
Yes.
And the cry is heard, even though it's not a sound. Right? It's a longing.
Yes.
See? Anything you want to say about that? See, I'm just saying, in rebuttal to this young lady, that you can't protect everybody from bullies.
Right.
Yeah, you can't do it.
And for a lot of years, for a long time, I didn't seem to have that longing, but I still continued to listen to
It
you.
was there since you were a little baby.
Yeah, I believe so.
If it isn't there, you never get better. If it's not there, I do not know why it isn't there for some people, but somehow they've chosen evil.
Well, I felt there was a time in my life where I was getting so off track that I was the spirit was without words threatening to leave, and it was I sensed that.
Say that again.
Like I felt like I was going so far into la la land
Oh, I
and
see.
and weakness and pleasure that I felt like my conscience was going to leave me.
Yes.
And that
It would
was
have to.
really
That's
scary.
exactly right.
That was real
See what I
scary.
mean?
Now, I have something to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Hold the,
Women,
no, just talk about you, not women.
I know, but I'm saying that a mother cannot help herself but to answer the call when her son, even if he's 5 or if he's 50, calls that out of her. Because it's so ingrained in a woman to be
To
that
rise to the
way.
occasion of that.
That's correct.
Yeah. And
That's it.
I understand that.
Thank
She
you.
understands it. Okay? But if you have a good husband, you don't do that anymore.
No, you don't have the need.
You don't have the need. And I don't want you to have the need for me. See, need is not love. You need somebody's love. It bypasses God's love. See, you substitute a person's love for you, but then you become a slave for it. And may not realize you're a slave because you're always being rewarded by some kindly God you've created. But you don't realize you're a slave until you find he walks away because he feels you pulling on him or her. And then he runs away. And then you hate him. And you try to get him back. And then you turn to another person. And then you go through 3 or 4 marriages. And everything gets worse. In one marriage you're the slave, in the other marriage you're the bully.
But if a woman knows her place, and her place is to serve God just like the man, but it's not the same service.
No, it's serving the man that serves God, and therefore it's all
Well,
fulfilled.
now, if someone didn't know you the way I know you, they'd think to themselves, he's a male chauvinist.
Well, you know what though?
But I understand that, Roy. Remember, I have 4 sons, and I've had to push them all in a way that they weren't aware that whatever they needed, they had to find it in themselves, because I couldn't help them. I said, either you go to your dad or you deal with it, because I can't help.
Well, they all got a little bit of me in them, and they got a little bit of her in them, and I've lived long enough to get rid of what's in a little bit of her in
Get
them.
rid of that, God did.
No, but in just figuratively speaking, it's my
Yeah,
job
the desire to know
to-
the truth.
it's important to. I've been married 63 years, and not to be rude, but she still doesn't have first base, even though she speaks very well. But in those moments where she's very, very aware, she speaks very philosophically sound. But the problem is the anger towards me over the years, a feeling of superiority that I don't see the things that she sees. Yeah. No, but basically, that women think that women have a superiority quality over men. They think that men are stupid, and in most cases, men are stupefied but not stupid. Stupefied by the presence of a woman, which is basically hypnotic. Basically hypnotic. They're drawn to the spider. The fly is drawn to the spider, like a fly drawn to a spider. Right? So, she cannot help it. She radiates seduction. Even if she doesn't want to do it, it is there and tends to draw, to challenge a man to have her. See that? Yes.
And sometimes, does the man resent that? In that sense, I had a husband for 35 years, and he was 8 years older than I, but he was very possessive. He wanted things done his
And what did he want? What did he want to possess?
Well, he wanted to possess
Want you to be a
me,
slave to
yeah,
serve
me,
his ego.
and the children, and he restricted me from having different households. He didn't want me to have a telephone. He didn't want me to have any friends. And he was there all the time to say, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So I got to the point where I resented him.
But you ended up doing it anyway.
I did.
See?
And one time I stood up
And the
to him.
resentment
it
creates
made
guilt.
me
No, but
angry.
listen, the resentment creates guilt. And you take the guilt as you being wrong, and then now comes a feedback, meaning your guilt in your mind makes you think you haven't been nice enough to him,
That he,
because there's an ego in you that thinking that if you love him enough, he will change.
yeah. And he listened
And
to
it
you for
repeats
years.
itself.
Yeah, he listened to you for years.
I know, maybe
But
so.
it didn't make, and
But
then,
you're stubborn though.
yes, I'm getting better.
You're
I can s-
stubborn,
yes.
and maybe that's the reason.
Uh-huh,
Maybe you are very stubborn.
but I think I'm getting
But you
better.
can listen to me and still not do what I ask you to do. I suggest some good things, as I do all the time, and everybody in this room will pick up a piece
Yeah.
here, and it's a different piece to you, and another different piece to this fellow over here, and another. In other words, the whole conversation is little bits and pieces. Now, I try to put them in a string, and it takes you almost anywhere.
Yeah,
So it really looks like I'm everywhere. But everywhere is just one thing. Not connected to the Creator, always looking for a reassurance, looking for either you're appeaser or looking for someone you can appease.
Yeah.
And hoping that they will love you for your slavery, which you do not think of slavery. You're always, as an appeaser is always a slave. And if you're really good at it, you can turn the person who you service, make him so dependent on your service, he can't function without you. Because you got more intelligent, because you're in service, so you have to learn a lot to please him. See? So you can turn that around. All you have to do is one good fight and assert yourself, and all of a sudden the person who's a bully becomes your appeaser. And then when he becomes your appeaser, you're as bad as he is. You're as angry and as mean as he was. You see? There's no way out.
And his mother put that in him.
Who?
The man you're talking
Oh,
about.
yeah. No, the lady I'm talking about.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Any other discussion? I didn't expect to speak so much, but is there any other? Is there anything I said struck a chord, like I did with him? Yes.
You were saying, you know, how things have changed in him so much, but he still has that appearance, and that kind of struck me because I'm starting to realize that even though an essential change has been made inside, it takes time for it to really be manifested on the outside.
Oh, they said manifested.
Well, that could be too, but and you know, when you said that, it just for me that was important to understand that.
He has a nice face, and so, but I'm fairly intuitive. I called it what it was, but I also see that he's changed, and that other people will see, not as I see, that he was, and now is. See that I got both parts right. See, and so when he is accosted, you're pretty strong, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want to mess with you technically, physically. Nobody really would. But now that you have intuition, you win you win by not losing your cool. What you have is invisible to the assailant, the abuser. What you have is more than just being a nice guy. You have a field force around you. I can't see it. It's there. And it's gentle and not large. It's a small force growing to a point where miracles happen. Miracles begin to happen. They're not by chance. I mean, if you just have a thought in your own mind and say, I think I'd like to have something like that. Let's say, I can give you several examples and I've given before, but I just won't go into that now. All I know is, if I see something nice, if I live a good life, and I don't lose my cool, the adversary can't hurt me. They feel that in an attempt to see where I'm coming from, they bully me or try to seduce me, see. But since I don't respond, they waste their energy and become afraid. Or they get better, one of the two. Now the point I was making to you, I've lost.
If you want
The
something.
miracles.
Oh, the miracle,
happen,
yes. So, I want to say this again because it's important. I remember as a little boy, about 6 months old, I couldn't have been because I couldn't speak. I don't remember being old enough to speak. I just remember this moment. That was the first thing I could think of. Something says to me, it seemed like I was saying it, but not words. I couldn't speak words. I can only remember that, that's all I can remember. Everything else is gone until I grew older and became more conscious. That said, what's life all about? It said it, I can actually translate it into words, but there's no words. Got it?
Right.
I'm speaking to you, translating things into words you've never heard before. See, so I can make a word that makes it easy to see, but these are, and all of a sudden these words turn into something magical. All of a sudden the words you forget, and all of a sudden you've got it in depth. Like see, and you hear and you understand, and you see and you perceive. But that's magical. That's not learning. Oh, that's awakening. All of a sudden it's more than just listening to words and try to make words work.
Right.
See? Your very demeanor, your very existence affects things. It affects things like God affects them in a very small way, in a local way. But also he says something about if a boy wants a fish, would he give him a stone? Is that correct? Remember in Bible?
Right.
See, he makes the point, and we don't get the quote right because I haven't read the Bible for years. So I just remember bits and pieces of it, which struck me. So, in that sense, if the thought enters to me, I've got 2 Jaguars, okay? I got one out there, is 11 years old, but you can't tell it from new. It's 88,000 car. I gave it to me as a gift.
88 car, 1988.
1988. It cost $88,000, but it's brand spanking new. Someone gave it to me for my anniversary, our anniversary. 11 years old, but you can't tell it. Okay, it's up to date, it's got everything. Now, I would like a Jaguar. I always liked them, but I never bought one. I had old cars. I have 7 old cars. I buy them, somebody leaves me one, that kind of thing. But not Jaguar. All of a sudden, Jaguar comes, and my son gave it to me in payment of something he owed me. He says, here's a Jaguar. But,
Nice.
yeah, but only to 32,000 miles. That was several years ago.
It was Regis's car, Regis Philbin.
Reader's Philbin. I only had 30,000, brand new, like a brand new car. All of a sudden, I get another one, in a couple of years back. And this one's even much nicer. See? So, but I didn't get it myself. The pleasure of driving it, even if it's 11 years old, you can't tell. You think I've spent foundation money on this because you think this is a brand new one. I've got to be very careful if I have a car because people will say he's using foundation money.
Yeah.
So I don't dare buy myself a new one, in a sense, in the station I sit in, because people will judge me. See? So you see me drive this thing away, you think I've got a brand new car and spend $100,000 on it. But I want to tell you, I don't do that. It comes. And it comes in its own time, when I least expect it.
I had that experience recently.
Am I right?
Yeah. When I moved up from California, I'm eventually, please God, I'm going to start my own business with an invention I have. In the meantime, I needed an employment, and I thought, I'd love to go to the coast. I want to visit those towns
Okay,
and coast.
came to you.
I got a job that pays me more than I've ever made driving up and down the coast. I mean, it was...
But the thought, it knows what you want before you ask. Isn't that what it says? The Father in heaven knows what you need before. And it isn't the fact that you need a Jaguar or up and down the coast, whatever that is.
Right.
He put that in your mind because it's good for you.
Yes.
And it's with everything. And he wants to give you gifts. He says, seek first the kingdom of God and the right way. See? And all other things shall be given to you. But that's what it is. The trouble is, we seek those things first.
Right.
See? We put that first. We seek the things we want, we think we want, that will make us happy, and make us feel important, and raise our ego and our appearance.
Yeah,
Right?
and the funny thing, this position, I appreciate it so much because it just fell in my
and
lap.
appreciation is love of God.
Yeah.
See? You did not give it to yourself. It
Right.
came to you as a present. It says, I love you. Do you remember the two boys in the vineyard, and the father says, go into the field and pick the grapes. He says, yes, I will, Father. And he didn't do it.
Yeah.
Right? And the other one says, when did the grapes, he says, what was the story now?
I don't want to.
Huh?
He says, I don't want to.
But he does it. Right.
Oh, right.
And which one did it? The one that says, I don't want to do it, but did it.
Mhm.
Out of, he thought better of it. And then he
Right.
did it. It was the right thing to do. So actually, character is what you do, not what you say. You need to watch for the people's mouth opening and closing is what you do. It's character that counts.
Actions.
Yeah, yeah, actions, that's another way of saying it. So, character. So you see, but people speak one thing and do another. People say, you know, we are very nice, but they're treacherous. There's something I could tell you. People will say, I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to do that for you. And that's very nice of you, and all of a sudden they don't do it. All they want is, oh, thank you, it's very nice of you. And that's enough for them. That's all they want. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, the immediate recognition, and yeah,
They
without
want
the work of,
that's all they want.
yeah.
They trick you into it. And then you think, why did he do it for me? You think, why didn't he do it? And then you get angry. And in that anger, you're much more vulnerable. Then you go to him and say, why didn't you give me that? So I'll give you some more later on, don't worry. And, oh, that's very nice of you. I didn't mean that. He did. And he's got you again, so to speak, you see. Even being late to an appointment is a form of manipulation. So you have an appointment with somebody, they come late, and over the girl. That makes it even easier to understand. And she's 15 minutes, half an hour late, but you wait for her. And knowing that you waited for her when you should have walked away gives her power over you forever. That's how so many subtleties, there are so many that you cannot mention them all. But when you have intuitiveness, you see them all right away. Every second you see it. Every fraction of a second you see it. Because life is made of little tiny things. Each one is obedient to God or obedient to the tempter. And if you don't have that perception, your life will go sour.
Amazingly tiny, yeah.
Amazingly tiny. I love that
yes.
word.
Yep.
It's well said. Are we getting somewhere today?
I think so.
That's when I'm tired. See, you would love not tired. Okay. But it's good. Well, are we done?
Good place to stop.
Yeah, it is. Ladies and gentlemen, juveniles and crocodiles, would you please support the foundation? We can't help the troops. We can't help people in jail unless you support us. And we can't support ourselves unless you are gracious. If we help you, be gracious back to us. That's part of a cycle. Am I correct? You don't starve the ox that treads the corn. I'm an ox. Actually, I have another word for it, but I'm not going to say what it is. But please support the program. Thank you very much. Post Office Box 1000, Grants Pass, Oregon 97528. But I think I said enough for this evening. Have a good weekend.